20s have been pretty good to Kansas City, even the 2010s, really. Kansas City won the World Series back in 2014, 13, 15 or so over the Giants. But it's a new roster, new era, and a new superstar on their team that is going to be and is already a top 5 player in the MLB, in my eyes. Bobby Witt Jr. We'll talk about him a little later, but first we're going to talk about how the Royals fared in the offseason, coming off a season where they made the playoffs and won a playoff series. Crazy. They went from the bottom to the Final Four in the AL in just a few years. It's been a great turnaround for them. Let's see if they can keep it going. They added Jonathan India. They traded away Brady Singer and added my favorite baseball player, Jonathan India. So, I'll be rooting for them. They're planning to play him in left field, from what I've heard. Fangraphs has him DHing, but he's going to be hitting leadoff for them. Let's see if he can find his Rookie of the Year form when he won Rookie of the Year with the Reds. Let's see if he can find it in Kansas City. Very sad to let Jonathan India go, so be rooting for him. So they acquired him, and then they got Carlos Estevez. But that was kind of it for them this offseason. Obviously, they traded away Brady Singer, but really, they didn't need extra pitching. They re-signed a couple of their own guys in the offseason, like they re-signed Lucas Erceg, Michael Wacha. They inked him to a big deal, and then they inked Michael Lorenzen to a deal. So that starting rotation with Cole Ragans and Seth Lugo leading the way is quite solid, if you ask me. But, yeah, kind of just for the losses, not really anything too crazy. I mean, Paul DeYoung, Garrett Hampson, Tommy Pham, and Adam Frazier are all replaceable guys. I don't mean to demean them. They're all awesome players. They're probably awesome people, but they're journeymen at this point in their careers. Minimum contract guys. And their best projected players via Fangraphs. This is interesting because Bobby Witt kind of carried last year. I mean, last year he put up like 9 Baseball Reference WAR, which is crazy. In a lot of years, he would have been the MVP, but, Aaron Judge was kind of in, in the AL last year. But he was insane last year, and Fangraphs has a little bit of a down year, but still a blistering 870 OPS, 292 batting average. This man hits the ball hard, and he never strikes out. That's really good, and he walks. And he plays a really good shortstop, so that's good for 7 WAR. I would predict he gets at least 6 or 7 on a bad day. Bobby Witt Jr. is insane. He's the MVP without question for this team. And let's just hope he doesn't get hurt. Knock on wood there. So they also got Vinny Pasquantino, a guy who I really liked. Put up a good year last year. Really hits the ball hard. Not a great first baseman, but yeah, he's just there to mash. And that's what he did last year, and that's what he's projected to do this year. Jonathan India, of course. We'll see how he fares in left, because I assume they're going to have Michael Massey playing second base. So we'll see how he fares in left field. I think he'll do just fine. He really improved at the second base position when he was here in Cincinnati. I thought he was going to have a good year this year, but he was on the trading block for a long time. It was, it was inevitable, right? It was inevitable, but he's projected for a 111 WRC plus. He walks a lot. He's got a projected 11% walk rate, which is really good. So shout out India. We love you. And then a guy that the Royals love, a definite Royals Hall of Famer, not Super Bowl champion, World Series champion, going to his 14th year. Salvador Perez, he's been with the organization since 2006, which is mind-boggling. That's almost 20 years in the organization. Yeah, kind of fallen off a little bit. He's 35. years old, or 34. He's going to be 35, but still going to be a guy who plays catcher. Maybe doesn't play it too well, but it's a guy who knows how to swing the bat at least. And then they have other guys that are kind of hit and miss, guys who they're looking to maybe break out a little more, like MJ Melendez, Kyle Isbell, Hunter Renfroe, Michael Massey, and then, even guys like Michael Garcia, who have some potential going into his second full year in the bigs, but not a ton of hitting talent outside of Bobby Witt, maybe Jack Caglione, Jack Tani can come up and produce sooner rather than later. He's not projected to come up this year, but he is projected to come up soon. But this team kind of hangs their hat on their pitching. This is a great 5-man rotation and then the Chris Bubich or Kyle Wright, who's going to be coming back soon, who they got from Atlanta. But Cole Reagans, obviously need to highlight him. The 27-year-old came on last year in his second year in the bigs, and he's power ranked very high on Fangraphs. They really like him. And Reagans and Seth Lugo are guys that can eat innings very efficiently, both with under 4 projected ERAs. Not a pitching expert. Got to ask one of my colleagues that, but I've kind of learned that under 4 ERA is good. Like, there are some teams that have their ace at, some teams who we've covered here who have their ace at above 4, but to have 2 guys that are under 4 ERA projected Fangraphs and that can throw that many innings are very good. And then their back half of the rotation is good as well. Top prospect-wise, not too much. They have 2 catchers in Blake Mitchell and Carter Jensen. They'll probably be up in 26 or 27. Caglione was the number 3, number 4 pick last year. I was kind of hoping the Reds would get him. They didn't, but he'll be up in probably 2026. They might try to rush him down, but I wouldn't recommend it. I'm not sure where he'll play. Probably somewhere in the outfield. They'll try to stick him there because they have their first baseman in Vinny P. But Fangraphs has them taking a little bit of a step back. Last year was kind of a miracle season, going 86 and 76. We'll talk about the Tigers next video, the next preview that I'll post, who also had a little bit of a miracle season. Fangraphs has some regression. We have even more regression, about 4 games more than Fangraphs. Look, Bobby Witt Jr. is amazing, but at the end of the day, Cole Reagans is amazing too. Seth Lugo is very good. Vinny Pasquantino has potential. So does Jonathan India. But at the end of the day, this team is not really that good. They kind of just have one superstar, and unfortunately, one superstar most of the time can't really carry you in the MLB. Maybe they'll get hot and exceed our expectations of them, but overall, Kansas City, I'm sorry, but we're kind of projecting a down year for y'all. But hey, at least you have Bobby Witt Jr., right? That's good.